Welcome to episode 73 of Relentless Talk Radio. Today it's just solo, it's just me. I had two folks that were planning on coming on today, and just, have you noticed how COVID has kind of made things interesting as far as time concerned? Not just for me, but for everybody else. I think that one of my guests, fashion designer, having to put her brand on hold while we kind of respond to the whole COVID thing and what's happening next for fabric, new designers. So she's waiting until she gets her feet a little bit more underneath her to come back into the fashion segment. So that kind of made me think about resilience. And then my other guest, honestly, that was my fault. I forgot to remind her until the last minute. I think it just fell off her radar. So I thought, why rush it? So it got me thinking an awful lot about this idea of resilience and how during these crazy times, I'm really learning a different type of resilience than I've ever learned before. And I've always been pretty resilient, but I've had to be extra super duper resilient. Personally, I've gone through some tremendous losses this year. Buried my dad, helped him die. It was an honor. Came back to Arizona to help my mom get her estate set up, and, just life changing and moving and shifting and adjusting. And, I'm in a new place today, looking at my life thinking, okay, now what? Like I'm sure a lot of you are. A lot of you are thinking, am I doing the right gig? Am I, in the right state? Like, am I moving? I was just chatting with a couple on Sunday at the Hideaway that they're leaving San Francisco after being there for 30 years. They're just ready to get out of California. I think a lot of people are making some changes right now in their life, and that's maybe a good thing. So I did a little, I woke up last night because my internal clock is off. I don't know if you guys are experiencing that too, but I find that my internal clock has been off for months now, really. And I'm waking up. And so last night I got up and I researched the idea of resilience. And I came up with 16 ways to bounce back during hard times. Honestly, I started to troll the TEDx talks. And if you go to youtube.relentlesstalkradio.com and look at the playlist for my favorite TED Talks, you'll see several of the TED Talks that focused around resilience. It really got me thinking last night. So I'm just going to, jump right into it. I took copious notes. Okay, let's see. We're going to go over here. So the first thing is shit happens. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, when I went through 2008, and I had just bought a salon, and I bought it down the street from the biggest employer in town. And then that employer laid off a bunch of people. Shit happens. You just have to accept that shit's going to happen. And I love that there was a TEDx speaker. Her name was, of course, I'm going to remember now, Lucy Hone. The 3 secrets of resilience. The first thing that she said after losing her child in a car accident was the first thing that she had to think about every day was that shit happens, and accept it and not fight it. And I think that once you've had a couple rough things happen in your life, you really do go, oh, shit just happened again, and try to get to acceptance right away. So that was the first thing that came to mind. The next thing was focus grasshopper. Remember Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Man, the Karate Kid? Wash on, wash off. That if you stay attuned into the good, and you sit and you keep your perspective focused on the positive. And what you focus on really is what your life is, So I read James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, when I was first getting sober. And it was such a pivotal book for me. Those who know me know that I will go immediately from the world is blow up to what's good about this as quickly as possible. And I tune into the good. I'm grateful. I flip the script. I accept the good, and I hunt for the good. I have to do that. It's what you focus on is what your life becomes. So there's some big changes in my life going on, and there's so many cool things happening. I just bought silver. Those of you who've been following me on my personal feed, I just bought I'm influencing for Buddy Stubbs, and we worked together a plan with an investor that I'm on a bike and I'll be riding to Sturgis this year, and I'll be doing a lot of things that I've been putting off. So even this hat, this is my dad's hat. He was a Yankee fan. And my dad was recruited by the Yankees and the Dodgers. And the week before he enlisted in the service, they noticed him. And right before he was going into the service, they called him and said, "You're in." And he'd already enlisted. He missed his shot. Now, my dad could have been negative about this whole life, but what he did was he just cultivated a true love of baseball. My dad was one of those guys that he'd have the earbuds in his ears while he was watching the television because he wanted to hear the radio announcer and see it on TV at the same time. So he didn't say, "Oh, I missed out my opportunity." He just loved baseball harder. And my dad really taught me an awful lot about my focus, right? The next thing is the bird's eye view, right? That you can always have to see the big picture in things. You know, the fact that things are constantly shifting and changing in the micro, but taking a look at the big picture. Like, you know, if you have your health, you got your health. If you've got money in the bank and food on the table and a roof over your head, great. If you haven't got that and you got a car and you got a blanket and you got shoes, awesome. You know, trying to find the things in life that are keeping you in touch with the big picture. And that, you know, no one day is going to be a complete game, right? So keeping a bird's eye view is also a really great way to focus on being resilient. So here's one of my favorites. It's getting into action. And I'm going to go ahead and fix this because it drives me crazy that this is a little crooked. When you get into action, it really changes. You got to focus on your effort, right? Focus on getting into action and what you can do right now to move the needle just a bit forward. And as opposed to focusing on the sales or the end of the year or the number, just focus on what you can do today. Do the next right thing. You know, for me in the morning, I'm getting up and doing the Miracle Morning. If you're listening in, at Micalizzi Enterprises Facebook page every Monday morning at 7:30, I'm chatting about how I've been reading Miracle Morning. And one of the things that Miracle Morning talks about, along with silence and writing and affirmations and vision board and visioning, is exercise. So getting myself moving again has been a super important part. And I think a lot of us have been sitting around during COVID. And so getting yourself into action and focusing on the effort, you know, focusing on, I have to say to myself, just be on the bike, Michelle, just be on the bike, you know, be where your feet are and get into action. So that's number 4. Number 5 is fail faster. Make a shit ton of mistakes. If you talk to anybody who's made it or anybody who has an interesting life, they have failed a lot. And, you know, people will say to me, "Michelle, how can you be so fearless? You've been through some tough stuff." I'm going through some tough stuff right now, quite frankly. I'm making some major shifts in my life that I've been planning and putting in place for the past 3 years, and I'm doing it this week. And a lot of it has been about letting go and failing faster. You know, saying this doesn't work, that doesn't work, let's move here. I tried this, it didn't work. You know, flipping over this stone, it's not the right stone. You've got to fail faster and make a shit ton of mistakes. Anybody who's made it in life, love, business has made a lot of mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, then you're not trying hard enough, quite frankly. 6 is be grateful. Yeah, you know, you got to flip the script on stuff, you know. There's so much to be grateful for. I mean, I was riding up the back of Mount Mangus on Sunday, and I was thinking, wow, I live in the most beautiful state. I am on this motorcycle with great friends I've known for years. You know, I'm on my way to paradise. I'm going home to paradise. I live in paradise. I'm so grateful. You know, right now my health is stellar. Everything is great. There's nothing wrong in my world right now. So having to flip the script rather than thinking about, I'm having to rebuild parts of my business and parts of my life. I'm having to grieve my dad. I'm concerned about my mother, and just listing off all the things that I have to grieve and be fearful of. That's not going to get me anywhere. So being grateful is number 6. Number 8, let's see, number 7. Let's see, here it is. I can't do the regular slideshow. So get into the driver's seat and be the master of your own dang destiny. You know, It's funny. I switched the size of the slides right before we went on the air, and I didn't think that there'd be some big changes in the design, but there is, and it's not there it goes. So be the master of your own destiny. 100%. Like, you are in the driver's seat. Get in the driver's seat and drive towards your own dang destiny. You can't wait for people to come and scoop you up and save you and fix shit. You just got to get in the driver's seat and drive the hell out of that car or bike or bus or bicycle or skateboard. Just get in the driver's seat and be a driver. Don't wait for people to give you permission. Beg forgiveness later. Just get moving. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in my life that I didn't ask for permission. I just took the wheel by the horns and went with it. So take stock and be fearlessly honest. So I'm looking at some stuff right now in my life, pretty unabashedly right now. I'm taking some stock. I'm looking fearlessly, honestly about what my part is in some of the things in my life that haven't gone my way. What can I change? What can I shift? And what is just the way it is? I think that when you're in business, my father used to do stock every year with my mom. We do inventory and we would count spokes and you find out what you've got, but you also find out what you don't got, and taking stock is a really important spiritual practice to make sure that you're looking at what you're doing in your life and you're being responsible for your part in it, and you're replacing what's broken and you're adding what needs to be added and you're recycling what needs to be recycled. I've been putting recycling out. I'm thinking to myself, life is really about recycling. And so sometimes you need to take that stock and recycle. Connect, get out there. And, it's funny, as I was listening to the TED Talks and they were talking so much about connecting with your tribe, I thought to myself, this is the thing that's made COVID so painful for people, is that we haven't been able to get out there and connect physically. I mean, even when we're now starting to get out, we're social distancing and we're not touching each other, we're not hugging each other. And I think there's going to be a long-term effect, a PTSD effect on our society because of that, because we need to connect with each other. We need to touch each other. We need to hug each other. It's all very super, super important stuff. But I also see that, people are connecting in different ways, which is really awesome. Like, I'm doing a family call with my family in Ireland every Sunday, and my family in Long Island and Texas and California, and we're all getting together and getting to know each other a bit better while we're in different areas of the world. And I think that that's also a connection that might not have happened. So there's an example of flipping the script and being grateful. I'm really grateful for these conversations with my family because they're having an opportunity to get to know me better, and I'm having an opportunity to get to know them and listen about their daily struggles. Usually when you see each other at a family event, you don't spend as much time talking with each other, So the next thing is be open. Change really is the only thing we can count on. And we just never know when a change that we hadn't even expected is going to be for the best, You just never know what's going to happen. Just be open to what the universe brings you, and the most amazing thing can happen in your life, and it would have been something you would never have thought about. I have many things right now happening in my life. 2 weeks ago, I did not know that I was going to be getting on silver and hi-hoing it to Sturgis. I had no idea that was going to happen. And, things opened up and some opportunities came in place and a conversation happened and poof, there you go. I'm open. I'm open to see what happens next. And that's a really fun way to live, to be open about where you're going. The next thing is you got to toughen up. You got to toughen up. And I think that's another thing that's happening for me right now, is that sometimes you got to toughen up and you got to put your big girl panties on and take decisive and swift action. In business, sometimes you got to cut a tie. You have to discontinue something. I just recently discontinued a business opportunity that just wasn't anything wrong, just wasn't the right fit, not the right timing, just toughening up and saying, this is not the best use of my time. I'm going to redirect and take swift action and be respectful and kind and responsible and professional. But I'm going to make a decision quickly, and I'm going to be decisive about it, and I'm going to be fast about it. It takes me a long time to make a lot of decisions, but once I've made the decision, I'm out, or I'm in, or I'm up, or I'm down. But whatever you're doing, sometimes you just have to, toughen up a little bit. Life is not easy, and Being relentless is not easy, and being fearless is not easy, and being resilient is not easy. And if we don't put ourselves in situations where we can make mistakes and then we have to toughen up, then we don't build resilience. You can live your whole life avoiding love, avoiding business, avoiding risk, avoiding anything that could possibly cause you pain. But what happens is you find yourself living in captivity when you do that. And nobody wants to be captive to weakness. And so sometimes you just got to pull your big girl panties or big boy panties on and toughen up and make a decisive and fast decision about fill in the blank. Okay. It's just an important part of being resilient. The next thing is walk on and eliminate activity. Oh man, this is so important. So incredibly important. You know, there's negative stuff that can go on that just literally is a drain on your spirit. And I think at this stage in my life, I'm so aware of negativity. You know, I had a negative experience in a networking group last year. It was really difficult for me to walk away, but it was the right decision because I no longer felt I was getting positive results from that situation. You know, when things get to be more weighted in the negative than they are in the positive, then you have to look and say, well, you know, what's my part? What can change? Be patient, take a look. But then eventually you got to walk on and you have to eliminate any negativity in your life. I don't like to be around people who gossip. I think it's just, you know, not a good thing. I walk away from people when they're having the gossip fest. And, you know, if ever I'm cornered and I'm stuck in a gossip fest, I can literally feel that negativity seep into my bones. And I just don't want that. I want to live in a loving universe where people respect each other's privacy and where people realize that they don't know all the details about somebody's situation. And, you know, gossip in business and in life is, you know, just very, very negative and detrimental. Let's see. Rebound and recover slowly. This was something that one of the speakers actually several of the speakers talked about last night. I thought, you know, this is something I've had to learn over time because I can, you know, make a decisive decision and move quickly. But usually what happens after I make that decisive decision is I slow down and I take stock and I investigate, okay, what about that situation could have gone differently? What could I have done better? What did I do well? And then I learned from it. I took a lesson from something else and applied it. But I think one of the things that's super important is slowing down. I really took some time this weekend to relax with my friends and to slow down and to have a hamburger and just chew it. You know, I mean, just to be slow, you know, and not in a rush all the time and not always with a to-do. I think one of the great things about having menopause brain is I can forget my to-do list now. And that's really good because if not, I'd be constantly moving. But slowing down and just taking the time to rest and to spend time with friends and family and to not be constantly a human doing. Super important. When you rebound, you need to rest. Help, not hurt. This was something that I think is super important that Dr. Lucy Hone talked about. And what she said was, don't lose what you have to what you lost. Oh. You got one foot in the past and one foot in the future, and you're pissing on today. You know, so many times people will say, well, something happened to me when I was a kid, or somebody broke my heart, or a business deal didn't go the way I wanted it to, or I fell, or there was a young lady I was riding with this weekend, had a really bad crash last October, and she on her bike, she wears the scars on her face beautifully. They're gorgeous, quite frankly. They actually, I think she's more beautiful with the scars than she was without. And, you know, she got back on that bike. So the other thing this woman was talking about, Lucy Hone, was she was saying that she was looking through the pictures of her daughter after she died and just, you know, wallowing in the grief of it. And yes, I've lost a brother. My mom had a really hard time, and my dad had a very, 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 very hard time dealing with the loss of a child. I spent some time with Rhonda Tumbleweed this past weekend. She lost her only son to a car accident. The question is, though, is when does the wallowing or the grief overtake your life? And this is one of the things that I feel really compelled about. It's one of the reasons why I make art. My brother never got a chance to make art, so I make art. My brother never got a chance to ride a motorcycle, so I ride a motorcycle. I want to do stuff that helps me, not hurts me. And I will find myself in, morbid reflection on a regular basis myself. I have to catch myself. I've had people in my life not do the right thing. I'm still paying the price for some of those decisions that people made in my life, and I can get stuck too for a minute. But the reality is that you got to pick yourself up out of that bog, and you got to say, this isn't helping. This wallowing, this being stuck at something that happened to me when I was 8, 7, 6, 10, something my mom said, my grandmother said, my dad said, or didn't say, or didn't do. All that's behind you. And when you wallow in it and you get stuck in it, you do more harm than good. And so have compassion for yourself and realize that you're going to fall back and you're going to have bad days. And sometimes you need to take care of yourself like you're the sick and suffering person that you are. But then, like Rachel Hollis says, you got to wash your face. You got to get up and wash your face and get on with your life and stop getting stuck there. And I think that's one of the things that, if ever you've gone through a big rough time in your life, which is basically everybody, you've had to figure out, this isn't helping me. I need to change things up a bit, So choose wisely. Choose life. Choose joy. Every day you have a decision. This was something that I really decided several years ago, that I was going to choose life. I was going to choose joy. In those moments where I got stuck in the negativity and the bog, I was going to try to default right back to joy as soon as possible. And I think it's a wise choice to choose life and choose joy and to make a decision to do the things in your life that lift you up and lift the people up around you, and while being compassionate to each other. I mean, I think compassion is a very important thing, but you can't shove joy and life down someone's throat. People have to choose it. They have to choose to live and be happy. It's a choice. Number 16, it's not all about you. Don't take everything so personally. So you've read the 4 agreements, you know this. And boy, I forget this one on a regular basis. I want it to be about me. I want to somehow be able to fix it or change something or, sometimes people are just having their own shit, man. Shit happens. Like I said, number 1 was shit happens. Sometimes people just have their own stuff and it's not about you. It's about that stuff they're hanging on to. They haven't let go yet. It's about their own weakness and their own stuff. Don't take anything personally. I had a business decision a couple weeks ago and, I delivered the email and it was received a bit personally. And I thought to myself, well, okay, we'll give it a second to be personal. Let's talk it out, But it really wasn't personal. It was all about making a decision that was best for the group, really. And best for the circumstances. And if you're out there doing your life and you're trying to build a business, build a family, build a relationship, you're trying to build anything, people's panties are going to get in a twist, man. Like people are human. They have weaknesses and frailties. And that has nothing to do with you. And it's their responsibility to pick up that mess. For me, when I'm stuck in a toxic whatever, situation, it's really important for me to be accountable for my part in it and then be accountable for what to do next, So with this COVID thing, we're talking about COVID is really the underlying bear, right, in the room. People have been, I think, having a hard time emotionally. And I know people are having a hard time emotionally with COVID and how to respond to each other, being stuck together. I was just at my storage unit today, picking up some stuff that I needed for a project. And there was a young woman there who was putting her stuff in storage, 4 children. They're getting in an RV and she's taking the kids and she's going to Florida. And, what's going on in her life is not about her. Someone else's self-esteem is not about you. And, especially for a young mother, what's most important is that she gets her kids to safety, And I just thought to myself, 32 years old, there's a girl being resilient. She's putting her big girl panties on, and it was good to see. It was good to see her doing that because she could have stayed stuck. She could have stayed stuck. Yeah, stuck is a choice. So the TED Talks that I mentioned, okay, were the TEDx Victoria with Dr. Sean Robinson, Mental Toughness, Think Differently About Your World. Cultivating Resilience, Greg Ellis from TEDx Cortland. Building Resilience, 5 Ways to a Better Life, Steve Marner, the UCL Med School. Now that one wasn't a TED Talk, but it was a really good fiver. I call them fivers. And then the last one, the 3 Secrets of Resilient People by Lucy Hone. I was really impressed with Lucy. She has a resiliency and wellness clinic that she, I'll put her information in below. I was really impressed with Lucy. She was a mom who lost everything, and she actually narrowed it down to 3 things. She said, shit happens, choose what you focus on, and is what I'm doing helping or harming? Those are the 3 things that she used to get through her kid's death. And I think that's really narrowing it down to the top 3 things, doesn't it? And then how to become mentally strong, 14 strategies for building resilience. That was from positivepsychology.com. So those were some of the things I listened to last night when I couldn't sleep and my clock is off and I'm shifting and adjusting. And I'm thinking to myself, life is in session all the time. Life is in session all the time. And there's going to be stuff to overcome every day. When I'm on a motorcycle and I'm riding up the back of Mount Mangus after having not been on a bike for 3 years, a lot, right? I rode probably in those 3 years, maybe 12 times, where I usually would ride 12 times I'd ride 16 times a month. I ride a lot. And I was doing the twisties and just remembering, how to lean and how to push and how to do the gears and just remembering how to ride and thinking to myself, crap, I can't just let my mind wander. I need to be on this bike, paying attention to what I'm doing. And that's what resilience is. It's being in whatever shit show that you're in at the moment and keeping your eye on the prize and staying tunnel vision focused on moving forward. That's what resilience is to me. And bouncing back is something that you're going to do over and over and over and over again. Bouncing back is just part of life. If you're doing life right, you're bouncing back a lot. And thanks, Chris, Gretchen May. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you too. And thank you very much for introducing me to your cousin, by the way. So Chris May is a friend of mine here in Phoenix, and she's always so supportive. So thanks so much, Chris. I really appreciate that. So there's my story today. I've learned to be gentle with myself around this show. There's a lot happening in my life, personally, professionally. There's a lot happening in everyone's life, personally and professionally. And there's going to be times where I'm just going to do a self-talk like this and not have guests because it just is too hard to get someone in there. I have most of the spots filled between now and the end of the year, but what I've noticed is that people are all shifting and revolving, and we're all learning how to be resilient during COVID in our relationships, in our families, with our children, with our animals, with, people that we're interacting with in the stores, like just being patient and allowing us all to bounce back in a way that's helpful. So there's my story today, and I'm sticking to it. This is Michelle Micalizzi. This is Relentless Talk Radio. This is episode 73. This is actually my 253rd recording on YouTube, so an interview on YouTube. So do check out the YouTube channel. And there's talks going all the way back to 2013 on my YouTube channel. There's 250 talks there plus, and lots of really great entrepreneurs, designers, artists, and some relentless food for thought topics too. So definitely take a look. And while you're there, could you do me a favor? Could you subscribe? I'm trying to get my YouTube followers up this year. I haven't really been pushing it. It's more like kind of a holding ground for me, but I really am trying to get my YouTube followers up. So please do, when you're at youtube.relentlesstalkradio.com, or you can just Google Relentless Talk Radio YouTube. It'll bring you right there. Please do like and share and subscribe. All right, guys, that's it. We'll see you next week. I'll be here tomorrow with the LLS folks. Super excited about interviewing 2 of the candidates for the Lymphoma Leukemia Society Man and the Woman of the Year Award. I've also accepted the nomination, but I will be competing next year. And next year I'll be partnering with Buddy Stubbs and many other people to do a bike rally that's going to be originating out of Buddy Stubbs on Cave Creek Road in Phoenix. And I'll also be doing the Micalizzi Gives campaign. So over the next couple of months, you'll start to see me painting again. I haven't painted for about a year, and it's really overdue. So what I do with that campaign is I will interview the leaders for the LLS and tell their story. And their story will inspire a very large painting that will be auctioned off at the gala next year, starting at $5,000. And then the painting will be made into hats and T-shirts and different kind of swag stuff. And 100% of the proceeds will be donated to LLS. And also my fellow competitors will also be able to sell swag, and it will go onto their I'm going to help them beat me, basically. But I won't be beat next year. I'm telling you right now. So LLS tomorrow, and I did interview some LLS people last week, and their YouTubes will be available this week. So youtube.relentlesstalkradio.com. All right, guys, that's it. Have a really great day, and whatever you do, tune into the good. Choose joy. Choose life. Take care.